Our story begins on the desert planet of Tatooine, where the twin suns hang heavy in the sky, casting long shadows across the dunes. The air shimmers with heat, and the distant hum of a moisture evaporator is the only sound breaking the silence of the Lars homestead. Luke Skywalker, now a young man hardened by loss and purpose, stands alone at the edge of the farm, his cloak billowing in the dry wind. His blue eyes, once bright with dreams of adventure, now carry the weight of battles fought and truths uncovered. The galaxy is at war, the rebellion struggling against the iron grip of the Empire, and Luke has returned to his childhood home seeking answers. The Force, a restless tide within him, whispers of something hidden, something buried in the sands of his past. Luke's heart is a storm of conflict. He has learned of his father, Anakin Skywalker, now the Sith Lord Darth Vader, and the betrayal that shattered the Jedi Order. Obi-Wan Kenobi, his mentor, died on the Death Star, struck down by Vader's crimson blade, leaving Luke with fragments of wisdom and a lightsaber that feels heavier each day. Yet the Force pulls him here, to Tatooine, not for nostalgia, but for a mystery he cannot name. As he scans the horizon, his gaze settles on a distant canyon, where a faint pulse in the Force beckons like a heartbeat. He knows he must follow it, though he fears what he might find. Nearby, a familiar figure emerges from the homestead, Wedge Antilles, the rebel pilot who fought beside Luke at Yavin. Wedge has come to Tatooine on a supply run, but his presence here feels like fate. His sharp eyes catch Luke's unease, and though he says nothing, his quiet loyalty grounds Luke's spiraling thoughts. Wedge's own burdens, friends lost in the rebellion's desperate battles, mirror Luke's, and their shared silence hints at a bond that will shape the path ahead. Together, they set out toward the canyon, unaware that this journey will unravel secrets that could reshape the galaxy. The divergence from the known tale begins here. Unlike the original path where Luke's training came from Yoda on Dagobah, the Force has guided him to Tatooine after the destruction of the Death Star, before he ever meets the ancient Jedi Master. The rebellion is scattered, its leaders like Leia Organa and Han Solo coordinating strikes from hidden bases, but Luke feels isolated, unready to face Vader or the Emperor. The discovery he is about to make will test his resolve and force him to question the legacy of the Jedi. Luke and Wedge trek through the Jundland wastes, the rocky terrain unforgiving under their boots. The Force grows stronger with each step, a pulse that feels both familiar and alien. Luke's mind races. Obi-Wan's teachings echo, but so does the shadow of Vader's truth. He wonders if he can become a Jedi without succumbing to the anger he feels toward his father. Wedge, ever practical, scans the cliffs for Tusken Raiders, his blaster ready. His presence keeps Luke tethered, a reminder of the rebellion's fight beyond his personal quest. They reach a hidden cave, its entrance half buried in sand. Inside, the air is cool, and the Force hums like a living thing. Luke's hand rests on his lightsaber as they descend, guided by a faint glow from a metallic pod embedded in the rock. It's a cloning chamber, ancient and scarred, its surface etched with Kaminoan symbols. Luke's breath catches. This technology is forbidden, a relic of the Clone Wars. Wedge, wary, suggests they leave, but Luke is drawn to the pod. With a trembling hand, he activates it, and the chamber hisses open. A man lies within, his face identical to Obi-Wan Kenobi's, though younger, unlined by the years of exile. His eyes flutter open, and Luke stumbles back, the Force roaring in his chest. This is no illusion. It's a clone, alive and aware, staring at him with confusion. Wedge grips his blaster, but Luke waves him down. The clone speaks, his voice a perfect echo of Obi-Wan's, asking where he is and why he was awakened. Luke's mind reels. How can this be? Obi-Wan died, yet here is his likeness. a ghost made flesh. The clone, calling himself Ben, knows nothing of the Empire or the rebellion. His memories are fragmented, ending during the Clone Wars when he was created on Kamino as a failsafe by the Jedi Council, a secret even Obi-Wan never knew. Luke's heart aches at the sight of Ben's familiar face, but distrust lingers. Is this truly Obi-Wan's essence, or a twisted creation of the Empire? Wedge, skeptical, urges caution, but Luke feels the Force's truth. Ben is no enemy, though his existence raises questions that cut deep. Why was he hidden? Who ordered his creation? The trio leaves the cave, heading for Mos Eisley to find a ship. Luke's emotions churn. Hope at seeing Obi-Wan's face again wars with fear of what Ben represents. He wants to trust Ben, to believe the Jedi's spirit lives in him, but the specter of Vader looms. If the Jedi hid such secrets, what else did they conceal? Ben, still disoriented, struggles to reconcile his fragmented memories with the galaxy's new reality. He speaks of the Clone Wars, of Anakin as a hero, unaware of his fall. Luke listens in silence, the weight of his father's betrayal heavier than ever. In Mos Eisley, the cantina buzzes with smugglers and bounty hunters. Luke keeps his hood low, but Ben's presence draws eyes. His resemblance to Obi-Wan is uncanny. Wedge negotiates with a pilot, Chewbacca, who's in port without Han Solo. Chewbacca, sensing Luke's urgency, agrees to take them to Yavin 4, where the rebellion can protect Ben. But as they board the Millennium Falcon, a squad of stormtroopers storms the docking bay, tipped off by a spy. Luke ignites his lightsaber, deflecting blaster bolts as Ben, untrained but instinctive, uses the Force to hurl crates at their attackers. Wedge and Chewbacca provide cover, and the Falcon blasts off, narrowly escaping. Aboard the ship, Luke confronts Ben. The clone's knowledge of Jedi techniques is real, but his innocence about the Empire unsettles Luke. He fears Ben could be a liability, or worse, a trap. Wedge, ever the pragmatist, shares his own doubts, recounting how the Empire's spies have infiltrated rebel ranks. His story of a betrayed mission on Corellia deepens Luke's unease, planting seeds of a secondary threat. The Empire is closing in, and Ben's discovery may not be an accident. The Falcon jumps to hyperspace, bound for Yavin 4, but the Empire is already tracking them. On the jungle moon, Leia Organa awaits, coordinating rebel defenses. Luke contacts her via hologram, explaining Ben's existence. Leia, pragmatic yet hopeful, sees Ben as a potential ally but warns Luke to stay sharp. The Empire's reach is long. Her words stir Luke's resolve, but his doubts persist. He trains with Ben in the Falcon's cargo hold, their lightsabers clashing in a dance of blue and green. Ben's skill is raw, his movements echoing Obi-Wan's elegance, but Luke senses a void in him, a lack of the wisdom that defined his mentor. Their training is cut short when the Falcon drops out of hyperspace near Alderaan's ruins, ambushed by an Imperial Star Destroyer. TIE fighters swarm, and Chewbacca pilots the ship through the debris field, dodging laser fire. Luke and Wedge man the turrets, their shots precise but outnumbered. Ben, untested in battle, joins Luke, using the Force to guide their aim. The Falcon takes heavy damage, but they escape into hyperspace again, shaken but alive. Luke's trust in Ben grows, but the clone's hesitation in combat reveals his inexperience, deepening Luke's fear that he cannot replace Obi-Wan. On Yavin 4, the rebels greet Ben with awe and suspicion. Leia, her eyes sharp, questions him, probing for signs of deception. Ben's answers are honest but incomplete, his memories a patchwork of Obi-Wan's life. Luke defends him, driven by a longing to reclaim his mentor, but Leia's caution tempers his hope. She reveals a troubling report. Imperial agents have been tracking a Kaminoan scientist linked to cloning projects, suggesting Ben's awakening was orchestrated. Wedge, haunted by his own losses, volunteers to investigate, his loyalty to Luke unwavering. Luke's inner struggle intensifies. He wants to believe Ben is a gift from the Force, a chance to rebuild the Jedi, but the possibility of an Imperial trap gnaws at him. He meditates in the jungle, seeking guidance, and feels Obi-Wan's presence, faint but real. The vision urges him to trust, but not blindly, a lesson Luke struggles to embrace. Meanwhile, Wedge uncovers a lead. The scientist is on Bespin, hiding in Cloud City. Luke, Ben, Leia, and Wedge prepare to depart, knowing the Empire is watching. The Millennium Falcon streaks through hyperspace, its hull scarred from the ambush near Alderaan's ruins. Inside, Luke Skywalker sits in the cockpit, his hands restless on the controls. The Force hums within him, a turbulent mix of hope and dread. Ben, the clone of Obi-Wan Kenobi, rests in the crew quarters, his presence both a comfort and a puzzle. Luke's heart wrestles with the question of Ben's purpose. Is he a second chance to learn from his mentor, or a shadow cast by the Empire's machinations? The weight of his father's legacy, Darth Vader's dark pull, looms larger with each passing moment. He glances at Wedge Antilles, who checks the Navy computer with steady focus. Wedge's quiet resolve anchors Luke, but his own doubts about the Empire's spies deepen the tension. Leia's warning about the Kaminoan scientist on Bespin drives their mission forward, and the Falcon's course is set for Cloud City. The journey to Bespin is fraught with peril. As the Falcon emerges from hyperspace, the swirling gas clouds of the planet glow amber against the void. Cloud City floats like a jewel, its spires gleaming under artificial lights. Luke's senses sharpen. The Force warns of danger, a cold thread weaving through the city's elegance. Chewbacca growls softly, sensing the same unease. Wedge, ever vigilant, briefs the group. The scientist, a Kaminoan named Tonway, is hiding in the city's lower levels, guarded by Imperial informants. Leia, joining via hologram from Yavin 4, urges caution. Tonway's knowledge of cloning could expose the truth behind Ben's creation, but the Empire will kill to keep it secret. Luke nods, his resolve hardening, but his fear of facing Vader again gnaws at him. In Cloud City's labyrinthine corridors, Luke, Ben, Wedge, and Chewbacca move swiftly, cloaks drawn to avoid attention. The city buzzes with Tabana gas miners and droid workers, but Imperial patrols are heavy. Luke's lightsaber hums at his side, a reminder of the battles ahead. Ben, still grappling with his fragmented memories, follows closely, his eyes wide with curiosity and fear. Wedge leads them to a maintenance shaft, where a contact, a nervous Ugnaught named Yoxkit, reveals Tonway's location in an abandoned processing plant. But as they descend, the Force screams a warning, and blaster fire erupts from the shadows. Bounty hunters, led by Dengar, ambush them, hired by the Empire to silence the scientist. Luke ignites his lightsaber, deflecting bolts as Ben instinctively uses the Force to shield Wedge. Chewbacca roars, his bowcaster clearing a path, but Dengar escapes, vowing to alert his masters. The group reaches the processing plant, a cavernous maze of rusted pipes and flickering lights. Tonway, tall and pale, stands amid a makeshift lab, her eyes cold with calculation. She confirms Ben's origin. He was created as a contingency by the Jedi Council, a clone imbued with Obi-Wan's memories to preserve the Order's knowledge. But the project was betrayed. Darth Sidious, the Emperor, learned of it and ordered the chamber hidden on Tatooine, rigged to awaken only when the Empire could control it. Luke's blood runs cold. Ben's discovery was no accident. The Empire wanted him found, a lure to trap the rebellion's hope. Tonway's voice trembles as she admits her role, coerced by the Empire to monitor the clone. Wedge, his jaw tight, demands to know who pulls the strings. Before Tonway can answer, the plant shakes. An Imperial strike team, led by Commander Veers, storms the facility. Luke's emotions surge. anger at the Jedi's secrets, fear of the Empire's trap, and a desperate need to protect Ben. He leads the group in a frantic escape, lightsaber flashing as he cuts through stormtroopers. Ben, untrained but driven, mirrors Luke's movements, his force abilities raw but potent. Wedge and Chewbacca hold the rear, their blasters a steady rhythm against the Imperial onslaught. They reach a landing platform, but the Falcon is under fire from TIE fighters. Chewbacca sprints to the cockpit, powering the ship as Luke and Ben fend off Veer's elite squad. In the chaos, Taun We slips away, her fate uncertain. The Falcon lifts off, spiraling through Cloud City's towers, pursued by TIEs. Luke mans the turret, his shots guided by the Force, while Ben's presence beside him feels like Obi-Wan's ghost, urging him to trust. The Falcon escapes Bespin, but the cost is high. Luke's heart sinks. Ben may be just the beginning. The ship's hyperdrive is damaged, and Imperial trackers are closing in. Luke's mind races. Taun We's revelation has shattered his faith in the Jedi's purity. If they hid clones, what other secrets did they keep from Anakin, driving him to darkness? Ben, sensing Luke's turmoil, offers quiet words, echoing Obi-Wan's calm. The Jedi were flawed, but their intent was to protect. Luke wants to believe him, but the shadow of Vader's truth, his father's fall, was the Jedi's failure as much as Sidious. Wedge, nursing a blaster burn, shares his own fears. The Empire's spies have infiltrated deeper than the rebellion suspected, and Corellia's fall was no accident. His determination to expose the traitor fuels Luke's resolve, tying their paths closer. They divert to Hoth, a frozen world where the rebellion has a fledgling base. The icy caverns of Echo Base offer temporary refuge, but the Empire's pursuit is relentless. Leia, now on Hoth, greets them with a mix of relief and urgency. She's uncovered intel linking Taun We to a clandestine Imperial project on Kamino, where cloning technology is being weaponized. Leia's pragmatism clashes with Luke's idealism, but her trust in him steadies his resolve. Ben, overwhelmed by the rebellion's scale, struggles to find his place, his memories of the Clone Wars clashing with the galaxy's new reality. Luke trains him in the snowfields, their lightsabers carving arcs through the frost. Ben's progress is swift, but his hesitation in combat betrays his fear of failure, mirroring Luke's own doubts. Wedge, meanwhile, digs into the traitor's trail. Using rebel intelligence, he traces suspicious transmissions to an officer named Lieutenant Cabell, stationed on an Imperial outpost. Wedge's arc deepens as he grapples with betrayal. Corellia's loss cost him his squadron, and Cabell's treachery stings like a personal wound. He confides in Luke, their bond strengthening through shared loss. Leia approves a mission to Kamino, where answers about Ben's creation and the Empire's plans await. But as the Falcon prepares to depart, Hoth's sensors blare. An Imperial probe droid has found the base. 8 walkers descend, their shadows looming over the ice. Luke leads a desperate defense, piloting a snowspeeder with Wedge as his gunner. Ben, untested, joins the ground troops, his lightsaber a beacon in the blizzard. The rebellion evacuates, but Luke's speeder is hit, crashing into the snow. Ben pulls him from the wreckage, their bond cemented in the heat of battle. The escape from Hoth is chaotic, the Falcon limping through space with Imperial ships in pursuit. Luke's emotions are raw, Hoth's fall feels like his failure, and Ben's survival is a fragile hope. He meditates, seeking Obi-Wan's guidance, and hears a faint whisper. "The Force is with you, always." It's not enough to quell his fear of facing Vader, but it strengthens his resolve to protect Ben. Wedge, bandaged but unbowed, shares a lead. Cabell's outpost is near Kamino, a chance to strike 2 targets at once. Leia, now aboard a rebel transport, coordinates the mission, her voice a steady anchor. Chewbacca, ever loyal, keeps the Falcon flying despite its wounds. On Kamino, the rain-swept ocean world, Luke's team infiltrates a cloning facility hidden beneath the waves. The sterile halls pulse with the hum of machinery, and the Force is heavy with secrets. Luke's fear peaks. Vader's presence feels near, a shadow in the Force. They find Taun We, now a prisoner, her lab overtaken by Imperial scientists. She reveals the Empire's plan. Ben was meant to be a weapon, a cloned Jedi programmed to serve the Emperor. But the project failed. Ben's free will, a flaw in the cloning process, made him useless to Sidious. Luke's relief is fleeting. Taun. We warns that Vader is coming, drawn by Ben's awakening. Wedge, meanwhile, tracks Cabal to the facility's command center, confronting the traitor in a tense standoff. Cabal's betrayal runs deep. He sold Corellia for power, and Wedge's fury nearly consumes him. Luke intervenes, urging restraint, and Cabal is captured, his intel exposing the Empire's cloning network. As alarms blare, Vader's shuttle lands. Luke's heart races. The confrontation he's dreaded is here. He orders Wedge and Chewbacca to secure Taun We and Cabal, while he and Ben face the Dark Lord. The facility shakes as Vader's boots echo through the halls, his red blade igniting. Luke's lightsaber meets his father's in a clash of blue and crimson, the Force trembling around them. Ben, hesitant but loyal, joins the fight, his green blade a flicker of hope. Vader's power is overwhelming, his voice taunting Luke about Obi-Wan's failures. Luke's anger flares, but Ben's presence, Obi-Wan's echo, grounds him. They retreat, luring Vader to a flooded chamber, where Luke uses the Force to collapse a wall, buying time. The Falcon escapes Kamino, but Vader's pursuit is relentless, setting the stage for a final reckoning. The Millennium Falcon limps through the void, its engines sputtering from the wounds of Kamino's escape. Luke Skywalker stands in the cockpit, his face etched with resolve and grief. The confrontation with Darth Vader has left him shaken. His father's power is a storm he's not ready to face, yet the Force urges him forward. Ben, the clone of Obi-Wan Kenobi, sits silently, his green lightsaber clutched like a lifeline. Luke sees Obi-Wan in every line of his face, but the clone's fear mirrors his own, a reminder that Ben is not the mentor he lost. Wedge Antilles, bandaged but unyielding, monitors the scanners, his hunt for the traitor Cabal now a personal crusade. Chewbacca growls softly, coaxing the Falcon toward Endor, where Leia Organa and the rebellion await. The Empire's cloning secrets, exposed by Taun We, weigh heavy. Ben was meant to be a weapon, and Vader's pursuit means the Dark Lord knows the truth. Luke's heart is a battlefield. He longs to trust Ben, to see him as a bridge to Obi-Wan's wisdom. But the Jedi's hidden cloning project has fractured his faith. If the Order lied about Ben, what else did they conceal from Anakin, pushing him to become Vader? The Force offers no clear answers, only a pull toward Endor, where the rebellion plans a desperate strike against an Imperial outpost. Luke meditates, seeking Obi-Wan's spirit, and feels a faint warmth. Face your fear, Luke. The words steady him, but Vader's shadow looms, and the thought of losing Ben, or becoming like his father, ignites a quiet terror. On Endor's forest moon, the rebellion's base is a hive of activity, hidden beneath towering trees. Leia greets the Falcon's crew with a fierce embrace, her eyes scanning Ben with guarded hope. She's rallied X-Wing squadrons and ground troops, including a familiar face, Lando Calrissian, fresh from a smuggling run. Lando's charm masks a sharp mind, and his presence lifts Luke's spirits, evoking memories of Han Solo's roguish courage. Leia reveals the stakes. Cabal's intel points to an Imperial cloning lab on Endor, a sister facility to Kamino's, where the Emperor is developing a new generation of Force-sensitive soldiers. Ben's existence threatens this plan, making him a target. Wedge, driven by Corellia's loss, vows to destroy the lab, his arc converging with Luke's quest. Lando, ever the gambler, joins the mission, sensing a chance to strike at the Empire's heart. The forest battle erupts as Imperial scouts detect the rebels. Luke leads a ground assault, his lightsaber a blue arc through stormtrooper ranks. Ben fights beside him, his green blade steadier now, but his inexperience shows he hesitates, nearly struck down by a blaster bolt. Luke shields him, their bond deepening, but the cost is high. Rebel soldiers fall, their screams echoing through the trees. Wedge and Lando infiltrate the cloning lab, a sterile fortress buried in the roots of Endor's giants. Inside, they find vats of unfinished clones, their faces a haunting mix of Jedi heroes, Qui-Gon Jinn, Mace Windu, and more Obi-Wans. Wedge's fury at the Empire's blasphemy fuels his sabotage, planting charges while Lando hacks the system, downloading data to expose the Emperor's scheme. Above Endor, the space battle ignites. Leia, piloting an X-Wing, leads the rebel fleet against an Imperial Star Destroyer, its cannons tearing through the void. The Falcon, patched but fierce, weaves through TIE fighters, Chewbacca's roars mixing with Lando's quips from the ground. Luke senses Vader's approach, a cold spike in the Force, and knows the Dark Lord is coming for Ben. As the lab's alarms blare, an unexpected twist unfolds. Cabal, thought captured, escapes his bonds, revealing himself as a double agent loyal to the Emperor. He activates a failsafe, triggering the clones' awakening. Half-formed Jedi, driven mad by incomplete programming, surge from their vats, attacking friend and foe. Wedge fights back, his blaster a steady pulse, but Cabal's betrayal cuts deep, a wound to his trust in the rebellion. Luke and Ben race to the lab, lightsabers flashing through the chaos. The mad clones are a nightmare, their force powers erratic but deadly. Luke's anger flares. Obi-Wan's legacy, twisted into monsters, feels like a personal betrayal. Ben, horrified, falters, his memories of the Clone Wars overwhelmed by this desecration. Luke pulls him forward, their blades a unified front, but Vader's shuttle crashes through the forest, his presence a black tide. The Dark Lord emerges, his red saber igniting, and the duel begins. Luke and Ben face Vader, their lightsabers clashing against his relentless strikes. Vader taunts Luke, calling Ben a lie, a mockery of Obi-Wan's failure. Luke's fear spikes, but Ben's courage, raw, unpolished, grounds him. They fight as one, luring Vader into the lab's core, where Wedge's charges tick down. In space, Leia's X-Wing takes a hit, spiraling toward Endor's surface. Chewbacca, in the Falcon, dives to save her, threading through laser fire. Lando, separated from Wedge, uploads the cloning data to the rebellion, ensuring the Emperor's secrets will be exposed. Wedge confronts Cabal amid the chaos, their fight personal and brutal. Cabal's taunts, Corellia was just the beginning, push Wedge to the edge, but he subdues the traitor, choosing justice over vengeance. The charges detonate, and the lab collapses, clones and machinery consumed in fire. Luke and Ben trap Vader in a collapsing chamber, but the Dark Lord's power surges, hurling Ben against a wall. Luke's scream is raw. He won't lose another Obi-Wan. With a desperate burst of the Force, he pulls the ceiling down, burying Vader in rubble, but Ben's wounds are grave, his breath shallow. The Falcon evacuates the survivors, soaring past the Star Destroyer's wreckage as Leia's fleet claims victory. On Endor's surface, Luke kneels beside Ben, his hands trembling. Ben's eyes, so like Obi-Wan's, hold no fear, only peace. He whispers that Luke is the Jedi the galaxy needs, that Obi-Wan's spirit lives in him, not a clone. With a final breath, Ben fades, becoming one with the Force, his body dissolving like Obi-Wan's on the Death Star. Luke's tears fall, a mix of grief and clarity. Ben was no replacement, but his sacrifice taught Luke to trust himself. Wedge, bloodied but alive, places a hand on Luke's shoulder, their bond forged in loss. Cabell, now a prisoner, will face rebel justice, his betrayal a scar. Wedge carries but no longer defines him. The rebellion broadcasts Lando's data across the galaxy, exposing the Emperor's cloning plot. Planets waver in their loyalty to the Empire, and the Senate, led by Mon Mothma and Bail Organa's legacy, calls for reform. Luke returns to Tatooine, standing once more at the Lars homestead. He buries Ben's lightsaber beside Owen and Beru's graves, a quiet farewell. A familiar figure approaches, R2-D2 beeping softly, sent by Leia to join Luke's journey. The droid's presence, a link to his parents' past, stirs hope. Luke vows to rebuild the Jedi, not as the flawed order of old, but as guardians, guided by love and truth. The galaxy shifts. The rebellion grows bolder, its victories fueled by the truth of the Emperor's deceit. Luke, no longer alone, feels Obi-Wan's spirit in the Force, joined by Ben's faint echo. The Jedi will rise again, and Vader's shadow, though vast, cannot dim the light. Leia and Lando lead the charge, while Wedge trains new pilots, his wounds a testament to resilience. The Force flows freely, and for the first time in years, the galaxy dares to dream of peace. Folks, that's our story. This one hit me hard. Luke's journey, grappling with loss and hope, feels so raw and real. I drew inspiration from The Last Jedi's themes of legacy and failure, mixed with the intense action of Rogue One. Writing Ben's sacrifice was tough. I wanted it to hurt but also uplift, showing Luke's growth. Wedge's arc came from wanting a grounded hero, someone who carries the rebellion's weight without a lightsaber. What did you think? Did Ben's end feel right, or would you have kept him alive? Drop your thoughts below and let me know what Star Wars What If you want next. Thanks for reading, and I'll see you in the next tale.